As I said, this evening is all about your first 90 days as a property investor. So, quick question before we get into it. And I want people to be honest. You can be honest. You know, you're amongst friends. No one's going to judge you or anything like that. Who has watched more property content, more property videos this year than offers or meaningful kind of actions? I know Tom, Mary, you've shared with me on calls that, you know, you're stuck in that kind of learning cycle. And I do think it's quite a common thing. So you're not the only ones. I'm sure there's other people in the community as well who are stuck or have been stuck and caught themselves in that learning phase of feeling like they need to learn to fill gaps so they feel ready to do things. And you know, that's most of us. If we're honest, we've all been there. You know, I've been there. I'll be honest about it. And here's the thing, that gap between kind of what you're spending your time doing and what you've actually done in terms of meaningful action is the single biggest reason most people never get their first deal. And it's got nothing to do with money, and it's got nothing to do with knowledge either. So tonight, here's the deal. I'm not going to teach you more property stuff. I'm going to show you the 5 things that move you from knowing to doing in your first 90 days. So the thing that keeps you stuck, and most investors get stuck learning, watching, instead of actually doing something, anything, just do something. They get stuck in a cycle of learning, like I said, and avoiding things. That's what we're doing when we're doing that. And I think, Tom, you mentioned this on our last call or the previous call, that found yourself caught in a bit of a cycle of feeling like you're busying yourself learning things because it feels productive, doesn't it? To learn things feels productive, so therefore it must be a good thing to do. And a lot of that is avoidance behavior, dressed up as you being productive, is what I'm trying to get across. Now, people avoid the scary things. They step back away from them because they don't want to do the scary thing. And they busy themselves learning new things instead of taking the action or doing the thing that they're not too comfortable with. And everything, as that image shows, everything you actually want is on the other side of that wall. That's all it is. And it's the thing that you keep avoiding. And it's all fear-based. You cannot expect to get the rewards that you want if you don't do the scary stuff and the uncomfortable things and attack those things daily. And it's, you know, everybody's heard about, you know, the comfort zone and everything you want is the other side of that. And that's exactly what this is. And a lot of people, they frame it as, well, I'm not ready yet. And I've heard that. I've heard mentees say that, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm not quite ready yet. I just need to learn this next thing. I just need to do this next thing and then I'll be ready. And they're just caught up in this. And this can go on for years. I've seen this firsthand. People caught in this cycle for years, telling themselves, I'm not ready. People that have spent tens of thousands of pounds on education are still framing it as, I'm not ready, I just need to learn a bit more first. And at some point, that logic, it stops protecting you and it just keeps you stuck and not moving forwards. And the only way to break out of that loop is to do the scary thing. You know, that's the reality. You are keeping yourself stuck in that place. This is a horrendous photo of me. I honestly don't know what's going on with my hair or my head. My head looks massive. Anyway, so a quick kind of word on why I'm sharing this evening. I've been in property for 23 years, as most of you know. I've started out as an accidental landlord. It wasn't planned. Then years later, I became an estate agent, then a developer, then an investor. Same thing. Co-founded the biggest sourcing network in the UK and a peer-to-peer platform that's funded 85 million quid's worth of property projects. So I've made the money in property from various different places, and I've made a lot of mistakes. And anybody that says that they haven't made mistakes or they haven't dropped the ball or they haven't had issues is lying through their teeth. Now, I started out at zero. No experience, no clue, no idea. And it was a time then, going back 23 years, a time before podcasts. Podcasts were not a thing. Property podcasts were not available. It was a time kind of before courses. There were a few courses knocking about, but it wasn't nothing like it is these days. And it was certainly, obviously, a time before artificial intelligence. And you might think, wow, it's easier now. You know, what I did back then without those things, literally just had books and word of mouth and, oh, I know a guy that's in property, and that's what it was like. And you'd think, you know, what I did is surely much easier to do now and much easier to replicate, because information is everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And the other thing is most of that information is actually free. But lack of knowledge, lack of information has never been the issue. It's a lack of action, and it's a lack of a plan built around the individual. That's what I believe. So let's get rid of that horrible photo. So step one, understand your starting point and your strategy. And really understanding your starting point and your chosen strategy, and making sure it's a good fit, because, you know, it's not just something that you've watched or seen on a webinar or on YouTube and you thought, this looks amazing. This looks like a great way to earn money and build wealth. You know, most people actually come across this quite a lot with property newbies when I speak to them for that first time. A lot of them can come to me with the wrong idea or the wrong perception of a strategy and how it works or what they should be doing, because it's based off them watching a couple of webinars or seeing something online, and then they see a bit more and they think that's for them. And it's quite often there's a mismatch. It's not the best strategy for them. So I think step one really is about understanding your genuine real starting point, where you're at today. You know, what capital do you have, if any? What available time do you have? What skills do you have? What weaknesses do you have? It's about being, you know, completely transparent and open with, honest with yourself, really, and working out, you know, where am I starting from and where do I want to get to and what's realistic and what's possible. And a lot of people obviously get missold property education that, you know, we all know what goes on there with, you know, selling the dream. And this is a story that stuck with me, talking property education. I've shared this story before, and I once met a bloke who'd spent £40,000 on property training. And then I asked him the obvious question, how many properties have you got, or how many deals have you done, something like that. And he said, none, not one. I've done nothing. And he you know, he was absolutely fine with it. The crazy thing was he wasn't bothered. I remember talking to him. Where was that? Somewhere in Manchester, I think it was, and he was fully immersed and brainwashed, I guess. And I think he genuinely loved the property community he was part of, because he paid for lots of training with this one company. He'd had 40 grand out of him. And he just loved being part of the community. It was all these property friends, property, you know, connections that he'd made. And he just genuinely enjoyed that. He was a bit frustrated, don't get me wrong. He wanted to do something and he was a bit frustrated, but 40K, God. And this guy, he was ex-armed forces. I remember him telling me that. So he came out the army with a lump sum of cash and he wasted it on that training. I don't know if he had any money left, but he'd wasted 40K of it on the training. And he definitely wasn't lazy or not intelligent. He was an intelligent guy to speak to. And he'd done more learning, arguably, than most people ever will. So his problem wasn't effort, it wasn't knowledge, and it wasn't even really motivation, because he was motivated beyond belief. You know, he was 40K in, but he was useless at taking action. And it wasn't his fault, it's the training he had. And the gurus and the course sellers out there just kept on filling his brain with more and more information, dumping it in. instead of actually taking him aside, sitting him down, giving him a plan, recognizing where his skills are, where his weaknesses are, and working with him and helping him take action. Nobody ever told him his strategy, his ideas didn't actually fit him. It wasn't right for him. I think he was chasing something. I thought that's not for you. I can't remember what it was now. It was years ago. So effectively, because nobody had done that, he kept just grinding away, trying to get going in this one strategy, and he was just going nowhere. So a big part of this ultimately is skills. Some people are born with a natural ability in one area, and I see this a lot with mentees, with some of you guys on the call this evening. You all have very different skill sets. You're all different people. You're all individuals, obviously. And whilst one of you might be a great networker and a great speaker and hold themselves well, someone else might be really good at being analytical and they're really data focused as a person. It just comes naturally to them. And then you might have somebody else who's a big ideas person and full of creativity and all the rest of it. And like I say, everyone's wired differently. So your property investing strategy or chosen area that you want to focus on, it has to fit who you actually are as a person. And I see a knowledge gap with people and a skill gap. And my job with the clients that I mentor, and you guys, some of you guys on the call this evening, in fact, most of you are mentees, you'll know that my job is to help you close that gap or scale that's already working if you're an experienced investor, or not working maybe if you're a newbie. So this is the thing that I mentioned before. So great networker, a numbers person, or a big vision builder. Be honest with yourself about which one you are. You'll lean one way or the other. It's very rare that people are all three. And if you're all three, you should be absolutely, you should be banking money every day of the week. And if they don't match, you found your problem. Because if your chosen property strategy needs you to be analytical and be data driven, you're doing flips, so you need to have a good grasp on the numbers. You need to be really good at the details, like Alex on his projects. The amount of detail that you have to have your hands, gripped on it is unbelievable during flips, especially when you're doing two like Alex is, which is absolutely psychotic. But hey ho, you'll definitely need to lie down in a dark room in a few months, Alex. If you're not an analytical person, then you're going to fall flat on your face very, very quickly attempting to do that. And likewise, if you are not a people person, or not even a people person, because I'm not a people person, I'm an introvert. So networking was never something that came naturally to me. It's something I had to work at over years and years and years to get better at, to get more confident with. And it was always outside of that comfort zone for me. That was my thing. I was more of an analytical person and an ideas person and creative. So for me, doing this exercise, the networking and the being that a good speaker, a good communicator was probably the least of my skills. Everybody will be better at one thing. And this is exactly what I try to fix when I onboard someone as a mentoring client. And some of you know, I ask a million questions when I onboard you, and then I ask about your strategy that you would like to choose. And then I ask you about your experience. And it can be a bad fit, and we talk it through. And we get there in the end. And you can do, the first version of yourself tonight with that question. Ask yourself that question. Which one are you good at? And does your strategy align with that? So step 2, the engine and 90-day plan of attack. So me giving you a course and saying, go and learn this is literally pointless. It's the actions and habits formed over a 90-day plan that drives results. It's baby steps in the right direction with a very defined goal in mind. The 90-day plan that I create for people, if you're a client of mine, takes you from today, where you're at today, the position you're in, the capital that you've got, the skills that you've got, to a completely different place within 90 days. And I'm not saying within 90 days you'll achieve all your goals. I'm saying you'll be closer to where you want to be. And that's what that is. So new habits over that 90 days get formed because every day, every week, you are completing different tasks and going through those weekly routines. So you create new habits, you learn new skills, and I'm a huge believer that one step at a time is what gets the result. It's boring. Definitely boring. It sounds simple. Of course it does. It's very, very obvious. And yet most people can't or won't do this. And that's the crazy thing. That is absolutely the God's honest truth. Most people actually fail with doing the easy stuff. And the rule I build into your 90 days there, every day, just do one thing that scares the living daylights out of you. Do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, because if you only do that, no, you don't even have a 90-day plan. Just do one thing every day that scares you a little bit, makes you feel a bit uneasy. And honestly, you'll be far better off than you would be for not doing it. And this is why it works. Action is the thing that kills people's goals, or the lack of action. Do the right things for long enough, and the percentages increase in your favor until it's almost inevitable that success in some form will come your way. And it's not luck. It's actually just arithmetic. It's maths. You're playing the numbers game, literally. You're playing the percentages game, and you are making it predictable. It's boring. It's the predictable route, and the boring thing works. And if you really want to be successful in property, as a property investor, as a property sourcer, whatever it is you're focusing on, and you really want to build wealth, even if you're starting at zero today, you need to make the odds work in your favor. And the only way to do that is by making it happen. Action every day. Scary stuff, not the easy things. Stop taking it easy on yourself. Stop, get out of that learning cycle. And everyday things will swing more in your favor as time goes on. The more you do this, and eventually success and the rewards that you want, that you crave, that are on that, that board where you've got your goals or whatever, your vision board, if you do that stuff, those goals become inevitable, because it's the only possible outcome of doing this. And gurus sell courses telling you wealth and huge sums of money come quickly and easy if you follow their strategies, their secret methods. And they say that all to sell courses. The results are there, but you've got to work for it. You have got to graft. You cannot expect to do a property course, learn a strategy, and make money instantly. It doesn't work like that. It's not reality. Property has given me an amazing life, a much better life and path than I had previously. And this thing, honestly, I went through a stage of loving the quotes back in the day, and this lived on the wall in my home office and in the office at work as well. And I love this one because I don't even know who it's from. I seen it somewhere and I thought, I'm having that. And I printed it out and put it on the wall. And if you like things like this, make a note, take a photo. I can send it you if you want tomorrow. This was on my wall for years until I basically sold out of my companies and moved overseas when my goals were met. So getting things done brings your future closer quicker. It is what it is. But there's another thing, and I come across this quite a bit with people, and it's a bit of a trap. So the trap is when things start to not happen as quickly as you'd like them to. Things slow down. A lot of people, they go out there, they take property courses, they do property training, and then they find themselves, things aren't quite happening like I thought they would, like the property trainer said things would happen. It's not quite doing it like I thought, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. And some people want the results so badly, they can't be bothered with the 1,000 steps that it takes to get there. So they give up and they go and do something else, selling on Amazon, starting an Etsy shop, drop shipping, whatever it is, the next money-driven idea they've seen on the internet. And those people, honestly, I cannot help. I cannot help people like that. And I think the courses and the big name trainers, honestly, I've got a lot to answer for. You know, I think a way of looking at it, I think, is what they say to newbies is come to our gym and tomorrow you're going to have abs and you'll have lost 3 stone in weight all in a day. That's kind of what property marketing is. Obviously, that's an extreme, but it's not far away. And only their gym does that. So you've got to join today for 15 grand. And people fall for this absolute nonsense because they're everywhere on socials. They're more marketing experts than property experts. I say that all the time. And I spoke to a lady last week, actually, who she'd been to a 2-day event from a very, very well-known course guru training company. They're everywhere. If I said the name, you'd know them instantly. And she was told at that event that she would be able to quit a job within a couple of months and be earning way more than a salary. They didn't know who that woman was. They don't know her skills. They don't know her experience. They'd not spoken to her. They told the whole room that 200 and odd people they said that to. Honestly. So if you commit to the plan, the 90-day plans, and even if you just create your own plan, if you commit to the plan will work. And every plan is unique because Darren's 90-day plan would not work for Mary and Tom. I guarantee you it would not work. And vice versa, the other way around. So different skills, different experience, different points in their journey completely. And I think if Tom and Darren actually did swap plans tomorrow, they'd be very confused about the plans and think, what the hell is Paul talking about? Because every plan has got to be unique to the individual. And that's why property training doesn't work for the majority, because it's a one size fits all. And it doesn't work 9 times out of 10. So step 3, clear next steps and someone holding you to them. So like I said at the beginning this evening, last week I had a call with John. It's a shame he's not on tonight, actually. I had a call with John. He found an auction deal. We went through it together, readjusted some of the numbers, like I said earlier. Some of his refurb numbers were a little bit off, I looked at the deal. We looked at the funding side and talked about different ways they could potentially fund the deal with bridging, with different types of bridging lending. And that changed the deal. The fundamental numbers on the deal changed drastically when we tinkered with it on the call. And he went away from that call with a very clear plan. I've actually got the call notes in front of me with his next steps from the other day. And this week, so he went away from that call with a very clear mind on what he had to do next. And this week he's pushed that along in a massive way. And he's getting his ducks in a row now for what could be his very first investment deal. And ultimately it's that do this, then do that, next steps, advice and support that I've given him, and the accountability of go and do this. And this isn't about joining me if you're on this call and you're not a mentee. It's not what this is about. I'm just trying to put out there that you don't even need to pay anybody for this. Tonight, text one person that you know what you're going to do next week. I know, Darren, you have an accountability partner, Billy. Text one person, tell them what you're going to do next week, and then, stand by that. It's accountability. You share your goals with somebody else.
The accountability is a little bit strange because you feel like you shouldn't need it and you should be self-motivated and all these sort of things, but there's something about having to hand your homework in each week that keeps you on track. There's always 100 other things to do, but it's just making it a priority if you've got a little deadline each week.
Yeah, definitely. And I always say to people, look, so I get people, they don't book a call for a couple of months and then they jump on a call and say to me, I'm really sorry I didn't book a call last month or for the last couple of months, but haven't really done anything, and here's why. And I'm like, you should have booked the call. That's when you need the call more than ever. You need that accountability, even if it's to come on and go, Paul, I need help. I need to hit a reset button here. My head's gone. My focus is all over the place. I don't care what it is, but it's definitely, that's what accountability is there, not only for, I've set these goals for next week, and standing by them. It's that having the accountability when things don't go well as well, to push you to the next level, to reset. And what do I always say? Hit the reset button as many times as you like. I did. There's never just plain sailing for me. I've hit the reset button a million times. I've had bad weeks, never mind bad days, bad weeks, bad months.
But I think on those busy weeks when we've, obviously me and you have gone through them, I think maybe just picking one or two small things out that you can get done keeps the ball rolling instead of things stalling. So
yeah, momentum.
Sometimes it's not always a big one that you choose; it's a small one just to keep things moving forward.
Yeah, some weeks you make more steps than others, just because of things out of your control. But ultimately, that's sometimes how it goes. Sometimes there's family things going on. Maybe you're going away on holiday. We spoke about that, Darren. The last few weeks you've been away quite a bit, but it's just about doing what you can do in those scenarios and still trying to be aware of it and holding yourself accountable to it. So it's a tough thing to hold yourself accountable without an accountability partner, and it's definitely not. You touched upon it. Don't ever see it as a negative, because we all have bad days. Let's be honest, we're all human. But one of my mentors from years ago, and he wasn't a paid mentor, he's an old guy that I come across when I first got into property. He was an estate agent and an entrepreneur. And he always said to me, you will have bad days. And he said, whenever you get to the end of a bad day, you'll go to bed and you'll draw the curtains. But the next day, you'll get out that bed and you'll open the curtains and the sun will still be in the sky and you'll have another day to go at again. And it's kind of true. It's drawing a line in the sand of yesterday was crap, yesterday didn't go as planned, or last week didn't go as planned, and moving on. And even if you can only do a little bit, it's momentum. One step forward is better than no steps forward. And I think, being dedicated to the goal, being serious about taking action, being aware that you've got to take action. Things don't happen unless you make it happen. You're the captain of your own ship when you're a business owner, when you're trying to, grow well. It won't work unless you do. It's just so vital. And I think there's that employee mindset of, I'll do it next week, or I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it. If you let that slide, then it becomes weeks, become months, become, oh, nothing's happened, oh, I'll give up. And it's that employee mindset of turn up, do the minimum, do your job, go home. And it's not that thing of, well, I've got to do this. This is on me. I've got to do this. So there's a lot to think about, a lot to take away. So step 4, your power team and the skill, and it is a skill, of managing risk. And that's what we all do as property investors. So every investor obviously needs to understand how to finance deals, how to use creative finance, and the cost of doing that as well, and the impact on the numbers, which is what me and John went through last week on his deal. And then the decision-making ability after that to decide if those risks are bearable or they're definitely not bearable. You want to walk away from that deal because it's too risky. And it's risk tolerance, it's risk appetite. And everybody is different. Some people are risk averse, some people sit on the fence, some people are very cautious. And that's me there on a site that from years ago, pretending to measure up a piece of wood that you can't quite see. And this is the work. This is the real work. It's not a webinar. The deals, get won and lost out there in the real world. That's the reality. It's not a course module. You've got to take action. You've got to put the books away, stop listening to the podcast, and get out there in the real world doing real things to push these dreams forwards. And every investor, like I say, is playing a game of risk management and risk awareness as well. And it's about spotting what the risks are, because some people don't even spot the risks. It's about spotting what the risks are in the first place. And it could be, your refurb not being quite on the money, refurb going above budget, maybe the property being downvalued. There's lots of risks out there, and I'm sure Alex's head at the moment going through 2 projects he's constantly thinking about where can this go wrong, where can this fall down, where am I, I'm making sure that he's covering those things off as he goes. And it's managing those risks. It's then being pragmatic about it and saying deal or no deal when you're at the analysis stage. And it's then having the confidence actually to walk towards the deal and do the thing, or walk away from the deal entirely. And sometimes that can be a tough thing. I've had mentees actually send me deals and say, I think this is great. They want to do it, get carried away with the emotion of especially if it's their first deal, wanting to do something. And then I have to pull them back from the edge and say, hang on a minute, pump the brakes. There are some issues here. We need to look at this. This isn't as cut and dried as you think it is. And here's why. And that's because they weren't able to spot the risks. And I've seen it before, and I've come across people who've gone in and just made huge mistakes and lost money because they get carried away with things. And that's because the risk awareness wasn't there. So it's about spotting the risks, manage them, and then obviously be careful with that. And the question that saves deals, obviously, before any deal, ask one thing: if it goes wrong, how does it go wrong? Write down the 3 most likely ways that deal is going to bite you in the arse. And then price them in, factor that into the decision making. And that's the difference between a calculated risk and hoping everything's going to be okay. Because trust me, that's not what you want to be doing as a property investor. You can't do this with hope. And look, none of this is easy. As it says there, it is a skill. These are skills that need to be learned if you want to be an investor. And even the best investors get it wrong sometimes. I've messed up. Definitely I've messed up over the years with deals and done deals that I should never have done. And I'm sure every investor will have a deal they wish they'd walked away from or not done for some reason or other. Skill is in the judgment. It's not about being perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. So build these people around you. You can't do it all yourself, as some of you are aware on this call. And as John found out last week, I put him in touch with certain people. You need a power team, as people call it in property. And you need your own black book. And you need a good broker for financing your deals, funding your deals. How do we do that? We need a good broker with a good access to the market is important as well. You need a good accountant for being tax efficient and setting things up correctly before you buy the property, not afterwards. There's not much can be done after the event. So you need to speak to a good property tax accountant, ideally somebody who is a property investor as well. And I can put you in touch with somebody like that. That one's really important, actually. And then, you need your own book of contacts that you build up over time. And people say to me, Paul, have you got a contractor in, I don't know, Newcastle that you can give me? Of course I haven't. It doesn't work like that. You've got to build your own contacts up, tradespeople, contractors, architects, planning consultants, and so on and so on and so on. They'll build up over time. It's not about going out with a shopping list and thinking, right, I need to go on Google and go and find myself all these people and add them to my power team. You'll build them over time. And that's how that's done. Step 5 is growth, scale, and keeping your eye on the end game. And this one is honestly overlooked. People just keep on repeating what they've always done in property. And again, that goes back to sitting in the comfort zone a little bit, doesn't it? Going backwards, it goes back to that place of, oh, I'll just keep doing this thing because I know how to do this thing. And this isn't about being risky and thinking, only, you need to be trying different things all of the time to stay, relevant or whatever and keep yourself on your toes. It's not about doing that. It's about being aware of where you're heading on your, I hate the term property journey, but where you're heading on your property career and whether the outcome actually meets your expectations and gives you what you actually want or not. And this is the path that I travelled, roughly thereabouts, roughly in the right order on that graphic there. And I started out, like I said earlier, as an accidental landlord, built a portfolio, did some flips, had some HMOs, did some commercial to residential conversions, did new build, converted a pub, which was a big mistake. That was one of my big mistakes, by the way. And then I sold out of everything and went abroad. And, not every deal is a winner. That pub that I talk about, the mistake, lesson number 1, don't buy pubs, never convert a pub, especially if it has bats nesting in the beer garden, in the trees, and bats in the roof space. Definitely don't buy a pub if it's got bats, is what I learned. And the point is, every stage of my property career taught me something new. There were wins, there were mistakes, there were problems, there were fires to fight. And sometimes it feels like everything's going wrong because that's how it feels. But all of that is just extra experience. You learn more from your mistakes. Everybody says that. It's, but it's so true. You do. You learn, because I'm never going to buy a pub again. I'm never going to make that mistake again. And, I can't even watch Batman anymore. It's properly scarred me. I can't even enjoy a good Batman film anymore. I used to love that. But yeah, it's, you've just got to see it as the mistakes and the tough days are where you're going to learn and get to a better place. So like I said, started out accidental landlord, went through it, converted a pub, sold everything and went abroad. And that was always my end goal, was to exit the UK, go abroad, and get the villa with the pool and live life. And that was it. That was my end goal. To go and live in the countryside and live a peaceful life. And as some of you know, most of you will know on the call, I've since returned to the UK. I'm not there in my villa, unfortunately, anymore, because my wife, Claire, missed the kids and the family a bit too much, and it was becoming a bit of a struggle. And to be fair, we were both missing the kids and the family, and it was really hard to say goodbye when they used to come over and visit. And it just got to the point where we ended up coming back to the UK. So plot twist on that one is, as some of you will know, is since we've been back, and we've been back about coming up for 2 years now, I think. Since we've been back, my wife's actually turned around and said, I actually do prefer living abroad. I've decided I don't like the kids that much. I quite fancy going back. I miss the villa with the pool, and so do I, so that's good news to me. So yeah, our plan is to get back abroad, but we're going to give the UK a couple of years, and we're going to be moving to Cyprus. All being well. So, I mean, I'd go tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. I'm working on that one. I've got plenty of holidays to look forward to in the meantime. But your end game should be thought about. Because everybody's end game, everybody's exit, everybody's reason for doing this, everybody's why is different. Just like your skills and all the rest of it, they're all different. You're all different people. And it should be thought about as you go along. I'm not saying map out your whole life. Nobody can do that. Certain people do like to plan things, and I'm a bit of a planner, I will admit. I do like a good plan, but I like working in short bursts, and that's why we do the 90-day plans. I like working on a bigger life plan of a 2-year plan and a 5-year plan. I think beyond that, it's very difficult to visualize, and I don't want to think of myself in 10 years' time, because then I'll have no black hair in my beard and it'll be completely grey and I look like Father Christmas. And I don't want to think about that stuff. So 2-year plans and 5-year plans are fine for me. And it ultimately, I think it pays to be open-minded about the path that you are on today. and, you know, the why that's behind that. What do you really want? What are you doing this for? Is it security, financial security? Is it because you want to get out of your career? You want to quit the day job? Maybe you just want more time freedom, more freedom to, you know, do what you want with your time. Maybe it's because you're like me, you want to move abroad and live that lifestyle. Whatever your plan is, your end goal, whatever your end goal is, it has to fit what you're doing now. It's got to fit into that bigger plan. And I've met many landlords, and I've even got some mentees who shall remain nameless, who've built a big buy-to-let portfolio, and they're sat there thinking, why have I done this? And they're like, what do we do now? Do we just keep buying more? What do we do? And it's a crazy thing to actually, that's literally just going on autopilot and repeating that thing, isn't it? Of, right, I'll buy a buy-to-let, right, what do we do now? Well, I get another one. Or what do we do now? Well, I get another one. And then you've got a portfolio, and it's like, okay, well, do I just keep buying? And I come across that quite a bit. Well, people have just not really thought about the exit or what happens at the end. What's the goal? What are they doing this for? So always think about that. Have that in mind. And an honest warning. This comes off the back of something I seen yesterday, which was just a horrendous video. I wish I'd saved it because I would have shared it with you this evening. If I come across it, I'll throw it in the school group, because it's a lesson that people need to see. Don't just chase the next most talked about investment strategy, because you'll see it everywhere on social media. Social media is, honestly, it can be great. Don't get me wrong, it can be, and it's great in many ways, but it's also nonsense. And I think a lot of property strategies are kind of bigged up and championed, especially by property trainers, especially the highly leveraged property strategies where you put minimum money in, and all these strategies have typically got a million moving parts, but the gurus actually make them sound so easy to generate cash. Now, I saw a video yesterday of an investor virtually in tears. She'd bought a property, rented it out to the local council, who housed a homeless person with 6 pets, and the place was trashed beyond belief inside 2 weeks. Don't know if anybody else seen this video doing the rounds yesterday. Don't know the lady's name. It just cropped up. A young blonde lady. If you see the video, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, so they let the property out to a homeless person with 6 pets. The place was absolutely trashed within 2 weeks. Toilet was broken. Sofa was trashed. The carpets were ruined. Honestly, the carpets look like they've been down for 20 years. They were new 2 weeks ago. It was astonishing. I mean, 6 pets, I get that, you know, it can be dirty, but honest to God, unbelievable. She was honest. This girl was in tears, and it was actually quite tough to watch, because you could really see the emotion as she's talking you through it and showing you around the I think it was an apartment. And she's clearly been sold on the idea of letting a property to the local authority and then thinking that the profit margins are going to be amazing. And that's the dream that she was sold, but this is not what she signed up for. And this is another example of, and I'm not saying they're all the same, obviously, but this is another example of trending ideas in property and on social media are often just what the gurus use to sell their training. So just be careful, because there's no such thing, as I'm sure many of us this evening will attest to, as easy money in property. So the first 90 days in property, if you're a newbie investor or first-time investor, isn't about doing the most. It's about starting out properly. It's about getting the right strategy in place that fits you. It's about building out a real 90-day plan, taking clear next steps with someone holding you to them, an accountability partner, and then building your power team and keeping one eye on your end game or your exit plan. And that's how someone with a bit of capital becomes a proper investor. It's that step one. It's that action. To go and do that first deal, and then have a plan in place for the next steps. And if you'd like someone in your corner to do this with you. I know most of you on this call are already mentees. This does not, this isn't for you. But I do run a 12-month mentorship. I've got a few places open right now. It used to be lifetime access. It's no longer lifetime access. So anybody joining now does not get me for lifetime. They just get me for a year. So there's no pressure tonight, obviously. But if you're interested, it's all there on the screen. That's the link. There's loads of information. Or if you want to message me afterwards, you can do. That's not a problem. And if you take one thing away from tonight, take this. Pick the one scary thing you've been avoiding recently and do it this week. Just get it done. Just do it. You'll feel better for it. It won't be as bad as you thought it was. I can guarantee you it's never as bad as you think it is. So I'll just update you on a couple of bits before we close this evening. So the resources that are pinned in the community in the school group have been updated. So if you click the link now, it'll take you through to what is now my new website. There's a load of resources on that homepage. Some of them are free. You have access to all of them, apart from a couple of you on the call this evening. Go and check them out. There's some really cool things in there, some brand new things that maybe you're not aware of. It is the pinned post in the school community. Just click the link. Nice to see a couple of newbies on the call this evening, and welcome to the group. Welcome to the community. We do this every other week. Always just check the calendar in the community. If you're not sure when the next call is, click on the calendar, have a little scoot through the diary, and just set up notifications so you don't miss them. I always do send out an email on the day as well. Today, though, the email, to be honest, I think I sent it about 20 past 6, like 40 minutes before the call. That's my bad. I should have sent it this morning, but was very busy doing other things, mentoring people. So couple of updates with the Property Accelerator Pro software for people that are using that at the moment. There's been some updates to that in terms of, what was it last week? The stamp duty, and also the CRM system. There's a CRM system within Property Accelerator Pro. So if you're a deal sourcer, you're analysing deals and looking at potential projects, analyse the deal and save it to your pipeline. And then you can always revisit it later on and readjust the numbers and then save that again to your pipeline. Also, you can generate investor brochures. So if you're a deal sourcer and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to source deals, analyze the deals, click in generate investor brochure. Once you've analyzed the deal, bang, you get a nice PDF report, which is a brochure you can share with your investor client. All of that stuff is included. It's all in Property Accelerator Pro. I'm going to be doing some new videos in the next couple of days and next couple of weeks with the different features, little snapshots of what it does, because I can see the pages that people are accessing, and then most people are just looking at the deal calculators and the financial freedom tracker and maybe the capital war chest and planning out their property investments. But the deal pipeline and the CRM system is honestly just amazing in terms of focus, as well as a 7-day focus thing on there as well. So you can diarize things like, okay, next week I need to contact this agent, that agent, I need to speak to this person, I need to go to that event. You can put it all in the CRM system. So it's just a place to kind of access the software every single day and use it as a true CRM system. I think that's it, really. Alex, I noticed today that you posted and you said your first long form episode 1 is coming out on Thursday. Is that right?
Yeah, next week. So Thursday the 9th.
Next week? Come on.
I know. I needed time because I didn't schedule all the posts early enough. So I've got posts scheduled now for the next 2 weeks. So they're all just acting as like little mini trailers to the series. It's the momentum, that's all.
Yeah, I've seen all the shorts. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I can't wait to see the first proper long form one.
Thank you.
Good. I'll give that a share on LinkedIn.
Today was great, by the way, as well. This call, I love this stuff because I actually just went through my sort of plan for the next 4 months as well, or 3 months as well. So just like trying to get everything in plan, see what actions I need to take, that kind of thing, staying accountable to it. It's really sad, but my accountability partner currently is Claude. So is that on a week basis? So I've got a scheduled task every Sunday, go through my actions with them. So if that helps anyone as well, if you can't find anyone.
Yeah, I did the same. I'll be honest, I did the same. So I have a scheduled task on Claude that every week it's like what went well, what didn't go well, what needs to be done, and it's that I've got it configured so it does give me that kick up the arse where it helps. Alex has vanished. Where it does help. Something I said. I'm sure he'll pop back on. Yeah, so if anybody is not using Claude, honestly, you're missing out. Even for the free option, I think you can still do quite a bit with the free option. I've got the max account. Another thing is Mick, who's not on this evening's call. Darren, I think you spoke with Mick and maybe met with Mick. He's quite
met him about a month ago. Yeah.
He's coming up to refinance his project that he bought at auction recently. So got a call with him, I think, tomorrow or Thursday. So that'd be good to have a catch up with him. And Lee, who's not on this evening's call, he's finished his first flip. Not without issues, by his own admission, to do with the contractors and stuff. I think we might have mentioned that last week. But yeah, it's all good. He's coming to the end, and he had a big smile on his face, so he's happy. And the replay of this evening, if you want to watch back, especially the presentation bit, or you want to revisit it anytime in the next few weeks, it is obviously going to live in the community, and you can watch all the replays. You just click on Classroom and then click on whatever it is in there. I don't know what I've called it, replays and workshops, I think it is, and check it out. And
Paul, just a couple of bits on tonight's theme. I won't take long at all, but
yeah, no, it's fine.
When we talk about like doing your first deals and things like that, or something different, then sometimes it's your worst case scenarios running through your head that keep you stuck from sort of taking that step. And obviously, we've got the benefit of running all these things past you to make you more confident that you've covered those off. And I think the other thing that's always stuck with me is that I read in really early days that once you've done your first project, you've probably learned 75-80% of what you need to know. I'm not saying it's deadly accurate, but once you've been through all the solicitors process once, and you've been through a refurb process once, and you've been through a refinance once, you're in a great position then. So just getting that first one under your belt with the help of yourself, you're well on your way then to sort of being able to do the next ones.
Yeah, I think I said to somebody today, actually, once you get the first one under your belt and done, a lot of the fear that lives in your head evaporates. It goes. There's no fear there because everything you just said there will be an anxiety linked to all of that if you've not done it before. And it's only natural. If you've not done it before, it's scary. You wonder how things work. You're not sure of the process, what to do, what you need to do. There's a lot to think about, and all of that can keep you stuck. And I do think it is a big thing. And I think you're right, 75-80% of what you do in your first deal, it is what you need to move forwards. And second time round is always so much easier because all that fear is gone. The doubts have gone. That and you've got that confidence then. So I can do this. I've been through it.
There's just some other simple things that as you go through that first one, you make notes, you keep all the documents. So you've all got those things to refer to the next time through. So as well as having like people like you to help mentor you through it, then you've got your own set of notes and all your documents and stuff. So it's easier to follow through the next time.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think John, obviously, there was referenced in the call this evening. Last week was when we picked over the deal, but last night he did send a message saying he'd had a great day yesterday. He spoke to the broker I put him in touch with. He spoke to the accountant I put him in touch with, and things were moving along, and he got his next steps. And the auction's in a couple of weeks, and he's super excited about it. And obviously, you'll have a catch up on Thursday when you see him, but he was very positive last night and feeling like the wheels are moving and the momentum is moving in the right direction for him. And I think when he came on the call actually on Thursday, he won't mind me sharing this. There was a bit of hesitancy around, has he done the numbers right? And obviously that's where the call started, is we picked through the deal together, shared screens, went through it line by line on the refurb, and then dove into the finances. And I think he came away from that call with a much clearer head of, right, okay, I get it. And, he learned what the next steps were. And I think it's about getting rid of that, the unnecessary risks and stresses that property investors have first time round by having somebody else to look over the shoulder to go, no, that's okay, or hang on a minute, which happens just as much as that's okay. You've got to be careful. And like I said on the call, it's not about perfection. No investor is perfect, and no investor's never made mistakes. I'm sure, Darren, you've made mistakes over the years and, dropped the ball and thought, next time around, I'm not doing that. And you learn from that, obviously, as I did with the pub with the bats. Never again. Always makes me laugh that now, but my God, it was stressful at the time. And it's one of those things where you learn. But yeah, thanks for your input this evening, and joining on the call. There's only a few of you. Next time out, it is literally 2 weeks today. The next call is 2 weeks today. Diarise it. But like I say, if you're never sure, check the calendar in the community. Any questions you've got beyond today, throw them in the community. Ask away. You can do it out in the wide open for all to see, or you can message me personally. That's absolutely fine on the community as well. And yeah, I'll catch up with you all very soon. I'll bid you a good evening. See you later, guys. Take care.